Picture this. You drop a glass on the floor. It shatters into 100 tiny pieces. Now, can that broken glass ever just spontaneously fix itself? Like, just reassemble and jump right back into your hand?
No way, right? Or think about slamming on your car brakes. The motion of the car turns into heat, but you can't use that leftover heat to get the car moving again. It's a one-way street. But why? Well, physics actually has an ironclad rule that dictates this one-way direction of the universe, and honestly, we exploit it every single day to power our entire modern world.
By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly what that rule is, the second law of thermodynamics. We'll break down the math behind engine efficiency, and you'll see how to apply it to massive real-world examples, from giant coal plants right down to the car sitting in your driveway.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1. The universe's one-way street. So, nature heavily favors a specific, irreversible direction for energy flow. Here's the formal definition, the first expression of the second law of thermodynamics. It tells us that heat transfer occurs spontaneously from higher to lower temperature bodies, but never spontaneously in the reverse direction. It's kind of like water flowing down a mountain. A cold object in contact with a hot object isn't just going to spontaneously make that hot object hotter. No, heat flows from hot to cold, always. It is completely path-dependent.
So how do we actually use this? Let's look at Section 2, Meet the Heat Engine.
What's super interesting here is how we literally trap that natural downhill flow of heat and force it to do work for us. We do this using a device called a heat engine. Let's look at 3 absolutely crucial variables. First, Q hot. That's the heat we bring in from a hot reservoir, like burning a fuel. Second, W. This is the actual useful work the engine does for us, like turning a massive turbine or moving a car. And finally, QC. This is the heat dumped into the cold reservoir. It's the unavoidable waste heat escaping into the environment. You literally need all 3 of these interacting to make any engine run.
Now, you might be looking at that waste heat part and thinking, wait a second. If the first law of thermodynamics says energy is always conserved and never destroyed, why can't we just build an engine that's 100% efficient? Like, why do we have to have waste heat at all? Honestly, that is a fantastic question. And answering that brings us right to the second expression of the second law. It states, it is impossible in any system for heat transfer from a reservoir to completely convert to work in a cyclical process. Now, a cyclical process just means an engine that returns to its starting state every cycle so it can keep running. Picture pistons pumping up and down. To keep that cycle going, nature essentially demands a toll. You absolutely have to dump some heat into the environment. Perfect conversion? It's physically impossible. Knowing we're basically forced to lose some energy, how do we actually measure how good our engine is? That brings us to Section 3, the formula for efficiency. Before we throw the strict physics formula out there, let's just think about efficiency in everyday financial terms. Conversion efficiency is basically just what we get divided by what we spend. What we get is the useful work. What we spend is the total energy input we paid for in the first place. Pretty straightforward, right? Now let's translate that financial analogy into our actual thermodynamic formula. Efficiency equals W divided by QH. And because the work we get out is simply the heat going in minus the heat going out, we can also rewrite this mathematically as 1 minus QC over QH. Now look really closely at that last part. For our efficiency to be 1, which means 100%, that QC value, the waste heat, would have to be exactly 0. But remember our rule. The second law completely forbids 0 waste heat in a cycle. So yep, 100% efficiency is mathematically off the table.
All right, let's connect this abstract math to real life. Section 4, Real-World Power and Waste. We're going to look at a massive heat engine, a standard coal-fired power station. Look at these absolute mammoth numbers for its daily energy flow. The heat from burning the coal, our QH, is 2.50 times 10 to the 14th joules. The network output, which is the electricity we actually get to keep our lights on, is 1.02 times 10 to the 14th joules. And that heat transferred to the environment, our unavoidable QC, it is a staggering 1.48 times 10 to the 14th joules. So if we take those exact numbers and plug them into our efficiency formula, we get an efficiency of just 40.8%. Just let that sink in for a second. Nearly 60% of the energy from that burning coal is completely wasted. It just gets dumped into lakes, rivers, or the atmosphere as waste environmental heat. Why? Simply because the second law demands it.
Wait, this is super important because this engine is so inefficient. To get the electricity we actually need, we have to burn an incredible amount of coal.
Just this one single power plant produces 370,000 metric tons of CO2 every single day. So you see, thermodynamics isn't just some abstract textbook concept, it's directly linked to global warming. The less efficient the engine, the more fuel we're forced to burn.
But hey, it's not just massive power plants. Let's look a little closer to home. Section 5. Inside your car engine.
Yep, your car is a heat engine too. It operates on what physicists call the Otto cycle. The Otto cycle is basically a repeating thermodynamic sequence of adiabatic, meaning no heat transfer, and isochoric, which means constant volume processes. Together, they convert heat into work in your standard four-stroke engine. Let's actually break down what's happening inside the cylinder.
Here are the 4 strokes keeping your car cruising down the highway. Step 1. Intake. The piston drops, pulling in a mix of cold air and fuel. Step 2. Compression. The piston pushes up, doing work on the gas to compress it really rapidly. Step 3. Power. The spark plug ignites the gas, causing this massive explosion that forces the piston back down. And finally, Step 4. Exhaust. The piston pushes the hot waste gas out into the environment, which perfectly fulfills our second law requirement for a cold reservoir.
So the really crucial thing here is calculating your net work output. Your engine actually spends energy doing work on the gas during that compression stroke. It costs you energy, but it gains a massive amount of energy from the work done by the expanding gas during the power stroke. The difference between those two, the net positive work output, is what actually turns your wheels. And this perfectly illustrates why temperatures matter so much in engine design. A colder intake during compression means the engine has to do less work to squish the gas. A hotter ignition during the power stroke means the gas pushes back way harder. So colder compression plus hotter ignition equals a much greater net work output in every single cycle. Basically, if you maximize that temperature difference, you maximize the efficiency.
All right, we've definitely covered a lot of ground today. Let's lock in what we've learned. Section 6. Final review.
Okay, here are your big takeaways. Number 1. Heat spontaneously flows from hot to cold, never the other way around. 2. 100% efficiency in a cyclical heat engine is completely physically impossible. 3. The useful work you get out always equals the heat put in minus the waste heat sent out. And 4. That waste heat is a non-negotiable rule of the universe. Whether it's from a tiny car or a huge coal plant, it always impacts our environment.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. We know that 100% efficiency is impossible, but is there an absolute mathematical limit to how efficient an engine can possibly be in a perfect world?
The answer is absolutely yes, and it was discovered by a brilliant physicist named Carnot. Join me in our next explainer as we explore Carnot's hypothetical perfect heat engine